The closing numbers on the markets today. At one point, the market fell as if down a well, over 700 points.
Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets.
Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate.
We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%.
Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%. The stock market is now down 21%.
Because we're now down 43%.
Recession is defined as when a country experiences more than 2/4 of contraction in the gross domestic product, also known as GDP. The economic recession was the most dramatic contraction since the Great Depression. The 2008 economic recession's freefall was steeper and faster than the 1929 crash. This freefall was the most severe form of job loss the country has seen in decades. Out of the 13 recessions America has undergone, the 2008 recession is the most taxing on the public in the longevity and depth.
An economy goes through growths and contractions in the gross domestic product. This is shown through the fourth quarter of the 2008 recession. The financial stabilization was at an all-time low, which leaves these contractions to become more prominent. The annual rate dropped nearly -10% between 2008 and 2009. To prevent these growths and contractions from becoming extreme, the Federal Reserve steps in. After 9/11, the Federal Reserve lowered the interest rate from 6.5% to 1%. This decrease in interest rate made it easier for banks to lend borrowing money and cheap credit. Following 9/11, the government also induced inflation, in which the Federal Reserve could print as much money as they desire.
The economic system consists of homeowners who have mortgages to buy houses and investors who have money. The economic system works to tie the homeowners and investors together through mortgages. Investors' motives are to make money off of investments. The Federal Reserve, inflation, and low interest rates were triggers to the best of the housing market bubble. The low interest rates encouraged consumers to buy houses, and the inflation created the illusion that property values were accelerating. Investors then began to see that homeowners were easier to make money off of than the new low interest rates. However, when it came to dealing with the mortgages, lenders did not lend responsibly.
There are two different types of homeowners, prime mortgages and subprime mortgages. Prime mortgages are responsible, whereas subprime mortgages are less responsible. Subprime mortgages cannot afford a house, have a low income, and are unqualified for lending. Lenders would lend money to subprime mortgages because everyone was sure that the investments on houses would keep increasing. Not only lenders, but bankers, brokers, and investors are all getting rich off of risky investments. The abundance of risky investments, inflation, and low interest rates all begin to build until the housing bubble bursts.
The subprime mortgages soon realized the amount they were paying for mortgage is of greater value than the house foreclosed. The monthly mortgage payments that the bank was getting off soon turned into the houses as more and more subprime mortgages defaulted and foreclosed. This began a domino effect because there were too many houses on the market and more supply than demand. The bankers could not sell bonds on their homes. This refusal to interact among the bankers, sellers, and lenders caused the economy to slow and everyone to go bankrupt.
The industries hit the hardest by the Great Recession were newspaper publishers, cement manufacturing, motor vehicle producers, real estate, construction, and travel. As shown in the graphs below, there had been a record high for the price index of real estate and a downfall in the airline revenue throughout 2008. The Great Recession's effects on the travel and real estate industry were revealed to us in an interview with a real estate agent from Metro Brokers and an airline pilot from United.
For me, because I've been in the business a really long time, my business, had a major slowdown in that time frame, and I had clients that were really hurt, and then the turn, for them to be able to come back into the market and buy a home again has been a 5-year, they had to take 5 years off.
Well, the concessionary contract at my company had already been put into place So in response to the reduction in income at my household, my wife and I sat down and put together a budget, and this budget was very tight. It determined how many times we could go out to eat as a family, how many times we could go to the movie. We decided to continue driving our old cars, and this allowed us to continue, to hold on to our home.
And 2008 was different from any other challenging time I've been through. And because it affected so many people, it affected my business. I'm a broker owner, I own my own company in real estate. And because I work with people that own homes, and with the mortgage debacle, the values were declining. So as an example, if they bought their home for $300,000 in 2006, in 2008 it might only be worth $270,000. So that is a $30,000 deficit that they would have to pay off to the lender. And to have the lender agree on that was very stressful. So that is what precipitated all the foreclosures. And people were walking away saying, I don't have $30,000 to come to closing with, so I'm just going to let it go into foreclosure.
The airline industry was dramatically affected by 9/11. Post 9/11, my company declared bankruptcy, and in bankruptcy they reduced our wages by 42%, eliminated our pensions, and significantly reduced our work rules. The industry as a whole was just starting to show signs of recovery prior to the recession, and the recession hit. So the recession served to extend the concessionary contract we were under for approximately 5 more years.
I actually knew before it happened that what they were doing was absolutely insane. When lenders were doing loans with no qualifications, you could be a maid, making, $20,000 a year and buy a $400,000 house. It was no documentation loans. And having been in this industry for a long time, I knew that absolutely would not sustain itself, and that the walls would come tumbling down at some point with that type of situation.
In a recession, individuals' income and companies' income decreases. And one of the first things that an individual or a company will reduce from their budget is travel. An individual will elect not to go on vacation or elect to drive to their destination. A company will reduce their travel budget and opt instead for video teleconferencing. The first thing that I noticed was an increased number of empty seats, pushing back with fewer seats filled. In the industry they call it the load factor, and load factor is a percentage that reflects how many seats are full. An aircraft with 100 seats, if you fill 90 of those seats, you have a 90% load factor. If you only fill 70% of those seats, you have a 70% load factor, and it's very difficult to make money. My company responded by selling aircraft. They sold over 100 aircraft, and with the sale of the aircraft, they also furloughed or laid off thousands of employees.
Last month, our businesses added 236,000 new jobs. The unemployment rate fell to under 6% for the first time in more than 6 years. Over the past 55 months, our businesses have added 10.3 million new jobs. That's the longest uninterrupted stretch of private sector job creation in our history. And we're on pace to make 2014 the strongest year of job growth since the 1990s. This progress has been hard, but it has been steady, and it is real. It's a direct result of the American people's drive and determination